Part 23 of the Military Journals of Two Private Soldiers, 1758-1775. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by FNH. The Military Journals of Two Private Soldiers, 1758-1775, by Abraham Tomlinson. Part 23. Miscellaneous Articles. Lock of Washington's hair, an unquestionable relic, derived from the late Judge Thompson of the Supreme Court of the United States, presented by his recent widow, the present Mrs. Lansing of Poughkeepsie. Fragments of the first coffin of Washington, presented by Louis Grube, Esquire, artist, Poughkeepsie. One of the points of the chevaux de frise, placed in the Hudson River near Windsor in 1780 to prevent the passage of the British ships. It was raised accidentally by the anchor of a sloop commanded by Captain Abraham Elting in New Palitz, Ulster County, in 1836. It is pointed with iron and weighs some hundreds of pounds. Wooden camp candlestick, used in General Smallwood's brigade when encamped at Fishkill in Dutchess County in the Revolution. From Jackson Diddle, Esquire, Fishkill. Homespun linen rifle shirt, worn by Captain Abraham Duyer at the Battle of Long Island. From Charles Robertson, Esquire, Fishkill. Sheet of stamp parchment, containing the stamps and duties of the Stamp Act. Sword of Captain Archibald Campbell, killed at the skirmish at Ward's House, in Westchester County, in 1776. Captain Campbell was the commanding officer of the British party, from his grandson, Captain Archibald Campbell, of Pawlings, Dutchess County. Sword of one of Lee's Legion of Virginia. It has inscribed on one side of the blade, "Victory or Death," on the opposite side, "Grenadiers of Virginia." Tooth of Miss Jane McCreer, found lying in her coffin when her remains were disinterred and removed to Fort Edward in 1824 by Mr. George Barker of Sandy Hill, and presented by him to the late Captain Matthew Danvers of Sandy Hill, and to the collection by his widow, Mrs. Mary Danvers of Poughkeepsie. Iron pipe tomahawk, found on the battlefield of Saratoga, from Van Wyck Brickenhorf, Esquire, of Fishkill. Cannon rammer, taken from Burgoyne at Saratoga, purchased with a lot of other lumber sold at West Point by order of the government after the Revolution by Joseph Jackson, Esquire, and others of Fishkill, from Van Wyck Brickenhorf, Esquire, of Fishkill. Knapsack of Captain David Oule, a captain of militia in the Revolution, and worn by him when he joined his regiment at Harlem in 1776. It is made of homespun linen, from his daughter, Mrs. Henry Abdel, of Union Vale, Dutchess County. Hessian camp kettle, dug up on the battlefield of Bennington by Mr. Charles Hogue of Dover, Dutchess County. Iron spur, found on the battlefield of Cowpens. It is much rusted, and is believed to have belonged to one of Tarleton's men, from B.J. Lossing, Esquire, of Poughkeepsie. United States musket, found on the line of the retreat of the Americans from the battleground at Hubbardton, Vermont. It has the date of 1774 on the breech, from B.J. Lossing, Esquire. Collection of relics from all the battlefields of the Revolution, from B.J. Lossing, Esquire. Cocked hat, worn by Lemuel Lyon on board the tea-ship in Boston Harbor. The wearer was the writer of the first journal in this volume, from his relative Mr. J. Colby of New York City. Surgical instruments of Dr. John Thomas, a regimental surgeon in the Revolution. They were used in several of the principal battles of the war, from his son Mr. Thomas of Poughkeepsie. An original portrait of Dr. John Thomas. Broken United States bayonet, found on the battleground of Guilford Courthouse, North Carolina, by Mr. Charles Ney of Armenia, Dutchess County. Bayonet of John Woodin, a Continental soldier. The point of this instrument was broken off in the wall of the fort of Stony Point when in the body of a British soldier, presented by a relative. A Spanish dollar, taken from the cavity of the hip bone of a skeleton dug up at Bemis Heights, Saratoga, in 1841. With it were 5 other dollars and an English guinea. and also a fragment of leather, supposed to be the remains of a purse or pocketbook, from Mrs. John Wing of Washington, Dutchess County. English musket, taken in a skirmish from the foraging party of the British in Westchester County in the Revolution, by Captain Abraham Marriott of Newcastle, Westchester County, commander of a party of American militia, from Mr. John Townsend of Poughkeepsie. Tory musket, hidden during the whole period of the Revolution in a hollow tree in Dover, Dutchess County, to prevent its being seized by the committee men and used against the king. English musket, bought off from the battlefield of White Plains by Colonel Abraham Humphrey of Smallwood's brigade, presented by the late Colonel Humphrey Cornell of Beacombe, Dutchess County. Fragments of human bones from the battlefield of Red Bank, from B.J. Lossing, Esquire, of Poughkeepsie. Piece of one of the palmetto logs of old Fort Moultrie in Charleston Harbor, from B.J. Lessing, Esquire. Horn of Lieutenant Charles Wallace of the 1st Royal Highland Regiment, curiously engraved with the names and distances of all the fortified posts from Quebec to Albany, together with the name and rank of the wearer. It was obtained from an Indian after the Battle of Saratoga. Metal button, ploughed up on Quaker Hill, Dutchess County, where a division of the American array encamped in the Revolution. It has the letters USA engraved on a surface. A number of other articles belonging to the camp have been found in the neighborhood. A long line of stone fireplaces of the soldiers still remain. Spontoon of Lieutenant Alfred Van Wyck of Fishkill, Dutchess County, used in hunting the cowboys in Fishkill Mountain in the Revolution. By his son, Theodorus Van Wyck, Esquire, of Fishkill Hook, who remembers to have been shown within the last 40 years, by an individual then living, the bones of a skinner or cowboy still lying unburied in a defile of the mountains. See also a large collection of other curiosities. The end. End of Part 23. Recording by F&H. Please visit www.bookranger.co.uk. End of the Military Journals of Two Private Soldiers, 1758-1775, by Abraham Tomlinson.